Morning world. It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. As you can tell, the voice is still a little bit hoarse. Got the tea here just in case things get ugly. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us for another morning. Want to apologize for yesterday. Not sure why my voice went away, but hey, it was up out of here. But we're back in the building, man. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We do this every single morning. Comcast willing, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. How y'all feeling this morning, man? Got some stuff to get into today. Talking about, first off, getting our Super Bowl recap. Seeing as how we didn't get the chance to do it. And then, of course, talking a little bit of NBA. And the big question is probably going to eat up a good chunk of the show. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on where we take the debate, how we all feel on it. Is Aaron Donald, after winning a Super Bowl championship, the greatest defensive lineman of all time? He's got a case. I know we hear that and we think, oh, this dude's wild. What are we talking about? We got Warren Sapp. We got Mean Joe Green. We got, what are we talking about? But he's got a case. We'll break that down. And then, of course, talking a little bit about our Bulls. Talking a little NBA action. What we've seen around the league. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us as always, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We going to keep the content coming y'all way. Sunday was interesting, man. Sunday was interesting. Because Sunday, we saw a lot of things that we did not expect to see in that Super Bowl. We came in here Friday saying that the one thing that can happen if you're the Rams is that a rookie dominates who's supposed to be the best DB in the NFL. That's the one thing that can't happen. That happened. That keeps Cincinnati in that game for so much longer. That keeps Cincinnati in that game. And it makes it a Super Bowl that I thought was very winnable for them. It makes it a Super Bowl that I thought was very winnable for them. A Super Bowl that I thought that they could absolutely come away with. And so watching how they were able to disrupt what the Rams were trying to do. It showed me, and again, you saw Matt Stafford do what Matt Stafford does, put you in a position where you can absolutely get the game. Put you in a position where you can absolutely take this ball away. To me, we saw that the Rams had one shot at this, and they took advantage of it. Because what do we know? Well, how do we know the NFL is going to do, right? This is the biggest game of their lives. They're going to adjust. You're going to see people taking a lot more shots on Jalen Ramsey with their best. I feel like Jamar Chase might have broken that fear. I feel like there was that fear that Ramsey was that Deion Sanders, Revis Island kind of DB. And so, yes, he does look great. Of course, that pressure up front helps. And not to say Jalen Ramsey isn't great, but I think that might have broken a little bit of that fear moving into next year. So you had to get that. You had to get the ring this year while you're in that game. I'll tell you this, as many jokes as there have been about Eli Apple on the other side of this, if Cincinnati wins that game, Jalen Ramsey's a meme all offseason. All offseason. I thought that they did well attacking everything the Rams wanted to do. If we're being honest, I thought Cincinnati consistently outplayed the Rams in that game. I thought Cincinnati, for the most part, consistently outplayed the Rams in that game. I thought that Cincinnati was consistently more of a threat to the Rams than the Rams were to them. But the Rams get the job done. Congratulations. I'm not upset about it either. I'm not upset about it either. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, there was a lot of guys in that game that you could like. I like Jalen Ramsey. I really do. I like that he runs his mouth, and for the most part, he backs it up. I like I love Aaron Donald. I love Aaron Donald. And I like, in all honesty, even with the Detroit connection, I like Matt Stafford. I do. I think that he's a player that deserves this opportunity, that played himself into this opportunity, now almost played himself out, had to have his team help him out of a lot of those holes. But that's what you're supposed to do. Right? That's what you're supposed to do. To me, the takeaway from this game is that the Rams came together as a team at the right moment, and they had a really good player on that last play. Now, as far as things go, here's the tough part for me, right? I have to rewatch the halftime show because that's the one question everybody keeps asking. How did you like the halftime show? We know you love music. We know you do music. What were your thoughts on it? Now, for me, I'm a West Coast hip hop. I love West Coast hip hop. It's my favorite. It's my favorite music, probably out of everything. Other than just like Chicago, like if I was gonna pick a coast, I always went West Coast. Snoop, Dre, throw M in there, M found fifth. Because to me, West Coast is that. It's that mix of like, we don't really care where you're from. Can you rap? Can you rap good on this beat? But I keep seeing greatest halftime show, which I don't think that's possible. With Michael Jackson out there. I have to rewatch it here with my sounds. Because the Super Bowl party we were at, shout out to my boy Demar, man. The TV just wasn't loud enough. It wasn't booming enough. You know what I'm saying? You had to have the room shaking for that one. You had to have the room shaking for that one. And I like the theme they went with. I love the theme they went with. It's all the old videos. It's all the old you know what I'm saying? All like what they did in the music video, how they put that onto the screen and stuff like that. It's all of that. So I love what they did with that. Fifth is upside down for some reason. In the G Unit wife beater, dog. I was not expecting the G Unit wife beater. I didn't know they still made those. Let me get in shape. I'm gonna buy one. Let me get in shape. I'm definitely gonna buy a G Unit wife beater, dog. So personally, I haven't had the chance to, because yesterday I was just watching Ori. But I feel like I didn't get the full ambiance at the Super Bowl party because I didn't have the sound there. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have the sound that was on. Like I could hear it, but it wasn't bumping. You need that bass when that mug come in. When you get that go, go, go. You know what I'm saying? I need that. I need that boom. I didn't have that boom. I didn't have that boom. So I was kind of like, hey, this is my song. You know what I'm saying? M came on. I got hype for M. Oh, here we go. We got Lose Yourself in there. But I couldn't vibe like I wanted to. TV wasn't loud enough. TV wasn't loud enough. TV was on 100. We was all quiet, and it was just like, ah. So I got to rewatch it. I got to see, man. I haven't given my final judgment on the halftime show yet. But overall, I think as far as Super Bowl go, I think it was a really good Super Bowl. That's all we can hope for as Bears fans, right? We don't have our team in the Super Bowl. We don't have our team in the game. And so what do we want to see? Hey, I want to see a good game. I want to see a competitive game. I want to see a dominant team go up against a dominant team, and you see two stalemates until the final minute. That's what we got. I like that. Black Rain, he gained weight, but a lot of people clowning 50. He just eating good, but he's still in shape. There's over 40. I want y'all to understand something about 50 Cent. I need y'all to understand this. Nobody placed him up there. 50 Cent is 45 years old, and he did a pull-up, swung his legs around, hooked him around there so that he could hang upside down. They got a video of it, somebody recording. Nobody placed him up there. He didn't start up there and like lean back and slowly come down. He did a pull-up to get up. I ain't talking nothing about 50 Cent. There's no trash talk about 50 Cent. Muzz was like, he looking big. You do a pull-up. First off, do a pull-up. For most of the people that's clowning this man, do a pull-up. And then swing your legs around, whip your legs over the top of something, and hang upside down like you 22 on them, or like you 8 years old on the monkey bars. You know what I'm saying? So I thought overall, man, it was funny. I was seeing Muzz clown Fifth, and I was like, Fifth is in better shape than most of y'all hope to be. I know he in better shape than me, but I'm working on it. But no, I enjoyed the bowl, man. I thought that, like I said, all you're hoping for is a competitive game. All you're hoping for was a competitive game, and that's what we got. And to me, legacies were made yesterday or Sunday. Legacies were made. Your Matt Stafford, to me, absolutely solidified his Hall of Fame candidacy because it proved everything we thought, right? Because Hall of Fame now is really just about how do we feel somebody should be to get in there. You got to have the numbers to go with it, but it's really a lot of how do we feel somebody should be playing or somebody could have been playing if he gets in there. We almost will look at Aaron Rodgers' career, or Aaron Rodgers, as Matthew Stafford's career as what would his numbers have been if he didn't spend all that time in Detroit. 1 year outside of Detroit, and he's no longer struggling to make it out of the first round of the playoffs. He's winning a Super Bowl. So that's how the voters' brains will work. That's how our brains will work. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it's one of those where you get that switch where you go from Matt Stafford, oh, he's a really nice QB, to, no, dog, Matt Stafford is a problem. Matt Stafford could have been great if he didn't spend so much time in Detroit. Matt Stafford could have been remembered as an all-time great if he didn't spend so much time in Detroit. And so it's one of those to me where, like, you saw legacies made that night. You saw a lot of the hate and the rumors dispelled last night. Hey, guess what? OBJ can still play football. Guess what? OBJ wasn't a problem. Guess what? OBJ can still catch. Did y'all know that? OBJ's still a really freaking good wide receiver, and prayers up to OBJ, man. Tore the ACL again. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of there was just so much about that game that just changed the narrative on all these players. There's so much about that game that changes the narrative on all of these players. To me. You got Cooper Kupp. You got OBJ. You've got all these names out here. And then what we say? The other thing was the fight of Cincinnati. What did we say on the other side? Oh, these dudes finna get dog walked. I said 31-17. They got 17 points. I said, there's your game. I said, now LA finna take off and dominate them. That part never came. In fact, they came out in the second half attacking quickly. So I applaud those boys in Cincinnati, man. I applaud Joe Burrow. I'll say this, and it's the one thing that I take away from it. Maybe you don't get to that game without Jamar Chase. Maybe. Still a lot of other good wide receivers on that team. But maybe you don't get there without Jamar Chase. But not having that offensive line absolutely is the reason you lost this game. Not having that protection is absolutely the reason you lost this game. Because the play worked. When you look at that final play, the play was set up for a Cincinnati championship. If you have a little bit of protection for Joe Burrow, just a little bit, you win the game. If you had any protection for Joe Burrow, which he didn't have all night, what was it? By the beginning of the third quarter, he was already tied for the most sacked quarterback in Super Bowl history. And he probably broke, well, no, because the last play doesn't count as a sack. I was going to say he broke that record, but the last play doesn't count as a sack. So, but listen, that's your final play. Now, granted, it's Aaron Donald. Maybe having good protection there doesn't mean anything anyway because it's Aaron Donald. Right? But who's that laying on the ground there? That's Jalen Ramsey yet again. Jamar Chase beats him yet again. That's your Super Bowl. That's your Super Bowl. And so when I come out and I say, everybody says, no, we need to go get Justin Fields, a top flight wide out. We need to go get Justin Fields, a top flight target for him to go to consistently. No, you protect your quarterback. Protect your top piece. Protect the best piece that's on the field for you. I'm going to be honest with you. I know it's a hard take, but I don't care that they made it to the Super Bowl. When on every play, I think my quarterback could die. Different story if they win it, right? If you win it, hey, I don't know how you won it, but you won it. Different story if you win it. But when it came down to it, you had to get one protection, the protection of your life, and you didn't have good enough talents in there to get it. And we're talking about, listen, guys, this is not, oh man, Joe Burrow had a tough one early in his career. He'll get back. There's no guarantee of that. There's no guarantee you get another bite at this apple. Heck, with as much as Joe Burrow gets hit, there's no guarantee he's going to have a long career in this NFL based on how they built this team around him. And he's not exactly in a cakewalk of a division or of a conference. We saw one of the greatest of all time in Dan Marino absolutely never get back. Saw one of the greatest of all time in Marino absolutely get there early in his career and never sniff another Super Bowl. There's no guarantee Burrow gets back here. There's no guarantee Chase gets back here. This could be a blip in time. Bengals made the Super Bowl. Y'all remember that? Just like with us. Just like with us, right? We made it in 06. Love that team. A blip in time. It's hard to get to Super Bowls in the NFL. It's hard to win Super Bowls in the NFL. And so to me, build your team the right way. You might not be in this position. If you build your team the right way, you might not be in this position. You might be winning the Super Bowl. You might not have Jamar Chase, who definitely makes a difference. But you've got a quarterback that can deliver it to targets who can catch the ball. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, you know what I'm saying? Uzoma, there's still a lot of weapons on this team, even if Chase isn't there. And if y'all just pulling up, man, sorry about the voice. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, lost my voice. Fighting to get it back. It's a losing battle. But we making it happen. Plenty of tea, some cough drops. We're going to be all right. But I just feel like how the Bengals did this, like they were setting themselves up for failure in the beginning. And I'm going to be honest with you, this could be let's be real. Everything about this team, this Bengals team, tells you they overplayed. They played over their skis. And I will say this, defensively, I applaud that defense. I do. I applaud that defense. What they did to the Rams all night was impressive. What they did to the Rams all night was impressive. Absolutely destroyed the Rams run game. It was a non-factor. And I think they've got a young star in Logan Wilson. We said Logan Wilson's name so much in that game that if they had won it, I would have said, I'm not going to lie to you. I understand Joe Burrow is the reason that you win this game. I understand that he's the Super Bowl MVP if you win this game, because first quarterback to lead Cincinnati to a Super Bowl and who knows how long, you know what I'm saying? I get it. But I saw Logan Wilson on the field all night making plays in the backfield, in the running game, out to the right on receivers, getting to Matt Stafford. I would have thought he had a case for an MVP. I'd have thought he had a case for a Super Bowl MVP. And so to me, I'm thinking I'm thinking along the lines of a lot of us, right? Is Joe Burrow going to be able to get back to another Super Bowl? Or was this it? The opportunity is going to be there. I think Joe Burrow can play a lot of years if he's protected. I think he's that good of a quarterback that he will get back. But there's that thought. There's a lot of guys that never get another bite at the apple. That's why when you get there, you've got to take that bite. And so I really think that there's that moment where, yeah, you outdueled Pat Mahomes. You didn't have to run into the Bills. I knew they'd beat the Titans. But there's a lot of teams out there that are going the right direction. And unfortunately, you're right in the mix-up. There's a lot of teams out there that are going in the right direction, and you're right in the mix-up. Hey, guess what? The Chargers are moving in the right direction. And here's a question to the chat, too. And to everybody over on the Contender side, man. If you guys haven't tuned in over there, downloaded the Contender app, if you can't listen to the whole thing over here, you can go listen to the Morning Breeze on the Contender. Go download the app. Here's my question. If our team made the Super Bowl, Bears made the Super Bowl, would you rather know it's over early or compete and lose on a game-winning drive the way you did? Because you know that heartbreak on that end of it is going to be 3 times as worse. You know that heartbreak is going to be 3 times worse. Now, granted, you get a shot with the ball, but driving down at the very end, the play works. You know what I'm saying? Driving down very end, play works. You see Chase break out from Ramsey. There's just not enough protection. In our case, Darnell Mooney breaks off from Ramsey. There's just not enough protection. Justin gets hit. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I was thinking about that. I was like, would I rather know it's done? But then I thought about, like, then the party's not fun. Then the day's not fun. At a minimum, Cincinnati can say they had a day. At a minimum, Cincinnati can say, hey, we came out here, we gave this thing our all. We weren't good enough. We didn't have the talent. A lot of people saying they'd rather lose on the game-winning drive, rather lose at the end. Steve-O says he'd rather know it's over. That's why I thought it was interesting, man, because I feel like there's a good amount of people that would rather know that it's over, because you can what my guy said to me is, like, I can start moving on. I can start moving on that day. You get beat, especially in a game like this, right, where you came in kind of knowing a lot of the deficiencies of your team. Like, they come into this game knowing they don't have the offensive line to compete with Aaron Donald in them. They come into this game knowing Joe Burrow's going to get hit. I don't know. That's a tough one. Would you rather lose on a game winner or know it's done by the half? Like, to me, I'll say this. Because I do this, I'll always rather compete. Because I gotta talk with the fans after. And if you get dominated, right? Like nobody thinks about the fact that Brooklyn really only dominated us for a quarter. What they think about is that the Bulls got completely outplayed. Nobody comes on and thinks, "Oh, the Bulls got dominated for the third quarter of that game and kind of actually started playing better in the fourth, but it was too little, too late." We don't remember the part where for the first half of that game, it was back and forth. The Bulls even had a lead at some points. We don't think about that. We think about, oh, the Bulls got blown out. So for doing this, I would always rather compete. Because it makes you feel better about your team. To me, it makes you feel better about, hey, listen, I know we were right there. There's a couple adjustments we need to make, and we can get them the next time. Versus, hey, we got dog stomped. What's the adjustment? Fire everybody. The biggest adjustment you can make here, get rid of the team. Mike Davidson says, if you compete, you know you belonged. If it's over early, you have to question if the whole season was luck and if you'll just suck again next year. Now, see, here's the interesting thing to me. I never question if an entire season is luck. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get somewhere, like you can't luck your way to multiple wins a year. Like no one lucks their way into 10 wins into the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? The Bengals belonged. The Bengals belong. I just think their team was constructed poorly. I just think that they poorly constructed their team. I think that going out and getting a wide receiver and not giving that lineman help to Joe Burrow would cost you a Super Bowl. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that the Bengals path was perfect for them to get there, and this is the best moment for them to get it, and they didn't. Because let's be real, what was going to be the outcome if they played the Bills in this game, in the game before this, and not the Chiefs? See, that Chiefs defense is a lot play back, try not to give up the big play. And I get they wouldn't have been there without Chase. I can't say that. There's two other really good receivers on that team. Now, are they Jamar Chase? No, they're not. But as you can see, Jamar Chase is neutralized when Joe Burrow can't get him the ball because he's on his back. And so I look at it as, hey, listen, yeah, this is great, but I hate to tell you this. If you have a little bit more protection, if you have a better offensive line, you can run the ball more. By the way, did we ever find out what happened to Joe Mixon? Did he get hurt? Or did they just not have him in at the end of that game? I was very confused. I never saw anything about that either. especially on that 4th and 1. Especially on that 4th and 1. You know what I'm saying? No, Mixon isn't as good a pass blocker. I agree with that. But to me, trying to get some yards there, they went with P. Ryan on that. Ugh. All right. I don't know. It was a lot of interesting decisions down the stretch, but I think what it comes down to is just the construction of the team. If you have a better offensive line in place, and I'm not saying, here's the thing, you might not be in the Super Bowl this year if you don't have that. If you draft the offensive lineman, so maybe I'm the idiot here, and I'll accept that because you're thinking it's going to take a rookie offensive lineman some time to develop there. But I think that things fell perfectly for the Bengals this season, getting to the Super Bowl. You went up against the Titans. Titans were very beatable. Went up against the Raiders. Raiders beatable. Raiders gave you a good game, no, but beatable. You went up against the Chiefs, who you had to outplay. But that defense will allow for it. And Pat Mahomes didn't show up in the biggest moment. And then you went up against the juggernaut that is the Rams defensively. And again, you end up getting sacked a lot. And so to me, like, I think that if the Bills win that game over KC, since he's not in this position, because the game that would have got you there, you'd have been playing a team with his equal elite of a defense. Honestly, I think Bills-Rams would have been a little more exciting. Not to say this game wasn't, but I think Bills-Rams would have had a little bit more fireworks in it. That'd have been a fun game to watch. Hey, man. But who knows? We're going to pivot conversation a little bit. I'm going to take a quick break just so I can go get some more tea and some Ricola so we can get back to this thing, get me back sounding like a person. I appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love early this morning, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We'll be back right after this. The Bulls, to me, and maybe this is the first time I'm saying it on here, and this is why you have to make a move before the break and go for it. The Bulls, to me, absolutely have the makings of a championship roster. 100%. They have a championship roster right now. But you have to add to it because these other teams also have that championship level roster. So it's not just about having a championship roster. It's also about, do you have enough to beat the other teams with a championship roster? And right now, I don't know if the Bulls have that. Right now, I don't know if the Bulls have that. Because I'll tell you this right now, and we're going to talk about this on the live show. By the way, we will be live tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. For all of you people that are up early going into work, tune into the show, man. The Morning Breeze starts tomorrow. We're going to be live every week, Monday through Friday. And we're going to be breaking this down. But when Kyrie Irving comes back to the NBA, I've said this all year. It's Brooklyn's league, and the rest of us are in it. Now, there's going to take some time for him to get acclimated. Of course, now he's dealing with the health and safety protocols. There's going to be some time with that. But if we continue to do that, if we continue down that path where one day he comes back, then we're in a position where Kyrie Irving is the key to unlocking Brooklyn. And if they're fully healthy, and at this point, it doesn't even matter. We've sat here all season and talked about the struggle that James Harden is going to have. We've talked about all season, like, he can't do it. They're not going to win a championship. James Harden is not a factor anymore if Kyrie Irving is 100% healthy. Now, of course, there's still the fact that I say that we've never seen Kyrie 100% healthy. The one time we saw him healthy, he helped win a championship. Yeah, I'm saying. But to me, that's the biggest thing that the Bulls have going for them. The unknown of Kyrie. But now you have to add to your roster because he's back. So if he's healthy, if he's playing along with Kevin Durant, who's been dominating the NBA, the league is theirs. Let's not get it twisted. Golden State, okay. I love it. I love what Steph is doing. I love how they're playing defense. But the league is theirs. And I hate to say it like that. So now you have to figure out, how do you improve your roster to get to the point where the league isn't theirs? How do you get to the point where like I said, championship roster is already here, adding to a championship roster to make it more of a championship roster when it's 100% healthy? We've seen a lot of championship rosters get beat. A lot of them. Shaq and Penny had a championship roster, got beat. Scottie Pippen and them boys, when he was in Portland, had a championship roster, got beat. You know what I'm saying? We've seen a lot of consistent championship rosters get beat. Championship level rosters get beat by better championship. How do we get to that point? So now you're looking at who can you add to this team. And AK told you he's still going to add. Welcome back into the Morning Breeze. It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us for another morning. Got the cough drops busting, got the tea going. We're going to keep this thing pushing. Looking ahead. Takeaways, or I guess more so looking behind. What were your biggest takeaways from the 2022 NFL season? What were your biggest takeaways from the 2022 NFL season? Even with just our Bears. To me, it showed me that there's going to be a shift in this league when it comes to young talent. And it's going to happen faster than we think. We are quickly coming to a point where the passing of the torch is going to happen. And it's happening at a much more rapid pace than I think a lot of people expected. Brady's gone. Stafford's up there. Everyone thinks Rodgers is going to be able to do the same things Brady does. I don't see it. I think Brady's an anomaly. We're now in the era of the young guys. And interestingly enough, I feel like that's Russell Wilson's biggest gripe with the Seahawks, like whole different side point. But I feel like that's Russell Wilson's biggest gripe with the Seahawks. Tom Brady's that dude, Aaron Rodgers that dude. Why ain't I? Why am I not that dude? Why can't I be that dude? There's going to be a quick change around the NFL. And they've already begun it happening anyway. But I feel like last season you just saw it so much, right? You saw Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, second year in the NFL, in the Super Bowl. And here's why that's interesting. What you get when you have those young pieces come in is we're going to see things we've never seen before. And so we're going to have to evaluate football not based on how things have been done, but based on how they do things. And of course, there's going to be records broken. Of course, there's going to be, people put in higher places than they might have been in a 16-game season. And it might be that with 17 games, finally the Bears get a 4,000-yard passer. But we're going to see things differently in the NFL than I think we've ever seen them done before. And I think Tom Brady, weirdly enough, the old guy in the room, spearheaded that. I think that we're going to see things done differently than we've ever seen done before. As far as how teams are built, how things are handled, especially with how the Rams just did it. The Rams basically sold everything to get a ring. And guess what? It worked. And now, and in the NFL, that's important because one ring means everything. I feel like in the NBA, it's different. Like one ring doesn't mean as much anymore because you have so many more guys with multiple rings now. And I don't subscribe to that line of thinking, but I feel like that's how it's looked at. But I think you'll see a lot more teams selling it all for that one ring. You'll see a lot of teams shipping off first-round picks, shipping off players that were staples of the team. Just to get a shot at that one. Because, I mean, you saw like we all kind of saw it, right? When it was coming down and we thought the Bengals were going to win that thing, it was literally like, oh, snap. They gave up so much and it might not work. They gave up so much and it might be for nothing. Because even with the Rams, we felt like, I feel like in the Super Bowl this year, we felt like we were watching two teams that were getting their bite at the apple. I don't think they can replicate what they just did. The Rams I'm talking about. You can only kick the can down the road so far before you finally have to pay the piper. And I think the Rams are right there. You had to get this ring. You got it. What do you have to give up? What pieces do you have this year that aren't going to be here next year? And so I think you're going to, the crazy part is, though, I think that's going to become the norm in this NFL. That's what 2022 taught me. You're going to see a lot of teams copy the Bengals. We don't need offensive linemen. They're going to get quarterbacks killed out here. We just need to be able to put our team in a position to be successful. We don't need offensive linemen. Go get that star wide out. We just need to throw 5 bodies back there. The NFL's a copycat league, man. Whatever works, hey, that's the new flavor of the month. And so I just feel like there's going to be a shift in what we see. Prepare yourselves for it. There's going to be a shift in how we talk about these teams. Prepare yourself for it. There's going to be a shift in how we break down what these teams are doing. Prepare yourself for it. Because on here, I'm all about updating your narratives. I'm all about updating your narratives. We can't keep running through with the same narratives that this player is going to do this or this player is going to be that. When the look around the league has changed. When what they're doing around the league has changed. And I think that's what we're going to see coming in. That was my takeaway from 2022, man. Like, honestly, I looked at it and I was like, man, they're really passing this on to the young guys. They're really doing this differently than we've ever seen teams do before. Most teams don't even want to go down this path of we're giving up picks, we're giving up players to get this in, to make this big splash. You know what I'm saying? Don Burr in the building. As far as Bears takeaways, biggest takeaway from the Bears. For the first time in a long time, there's somebody in the building who's willing to tell George McCaskey no. And I think that that's going to make all the difference. There's somebody in the building who's willing to tell George McCaskey, I got this, go take a seat. And I think that could change things for us. Now that's just a small part of the job, but it felt like Ryan was a yes man. It felt like Ryan was, I'll do whatever it takes to hold on to this job and to keep you happy. Corey in the building, what's going on? But it just felt like Ryan was that kind of guy, Ryan Pace. And so getting those guys out of the building, getting the right names in there, that's what I'm hoping happen. Let's hope we see that. Y'all didn't see that. Let's hope we see that. I think next season is going to be interesting. I think that even this offseason is going to be incredibly interesting. Just looking at how these teams are going to stack up, how they're going to line up, how they're going to fix the holes on a lot of these teams. I mean, looking at this team that was in the Super Bowl, the Bengals, how the heck do you fix that? Right? That could be, if we're being honest, that could be the worst thing that happened to them making the Super Bowl because they're going to feel like, no, we got to get them another piece. Do they even go linemen here? Sometimes success can be blinding. We know that, right, Chicago? Sometimes success can be blinding. Hey, guess what? We went 12-4 our first year. Dominant defense. We can replace these pieces, and we'll still be just as good as we were. We were not. We were not. 8-8, 8-8, 6-11. Sometimes that success makes you feel like I'm right there. I don't need to make these changes that I probably should make. I'm going to change something in a different spot. Sometimes that success can blind you to what the real issue is because you were successful. So how do you change that? How do you combat that? Like you got to come in with a really great open mind. And like I said with the Bears, how do they feel those holes? Right? They're coming in with a different situation. They're coming into me with a better situation. Hey, guess what? It's not pretty. These guys sucked last year. We have to turn these guys into a contending team. We got to put pieces in place already. Bears are in a better position filling those holes to me because they even came in. You heard Bill Polian talk about it. You heard Bill Polian breaking down why this team or how many pieces this team actually has that are worth keeping. How many pieces this team actually has that are worth holding on to? He said 5 or 6. 5 or 6. That means he has no confidence in most of the pieces on your team. He said 5 or 6, you got 53. To me, that's huge. To me, that's huge. They got a job cut out for them. This season's going to be interesting. This offseason's going to be interesting. The adjustment that the Bears are going to have to make is going to be interesting, especially on the defensive end of the ball. But for the first time, I feel like the guy in there is not just going to say, yeah, that's great. Yeah, whatever you say, George. You want to do it like that, George? We can do that. That's how you want this thing to be run, George? We can run it like that. We're not seeing that. So to me, I think that the Bears are in a better position than when they left last season. I do. But it's going to be yet to see what that position is going to breed, if that position is going to breed fruit. Breed fruit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Produce fruit. Next question. Next topic. Next breakdown. Because to me, you got to start having the question, asking the question, especially after what we saw in the bowl. Is Aaron Donald the greatest player we've ever seen on defense? I had this thought during the Super Bowl. It was something that I felt like was a legitimate topic. Is Aaron Donald the greatest player we've ever seen on defense? To me, right now, he's top 5, of course. At a minimum, top 5. You could put him up there as top 5 players in the NFL, but I don't know if I'm going that high yet. He's top 10 for sure for me. And I feel like what better platform to talk about that than the Chicago platform? All we do is defense. All we know is defense. All we watch is defense. You know how many games have ended here in this city 9-3? With us on the side of 3. So I did a little digging. was doing a little research on Aaron Donald. Now, I will say, I never watched LT play. Dion I watched towards the end of his career. And I know that there's a feeling that you get when you watch it live. Watching a player live, I feel like there's a feeling and there's an attachment. That's the reason that you have so many of these GOAT debates that seem pretty irrational. I watched Tom Brady live. Tom Brady, to me, is the greatest quarterback of all time, and honestly, is the unquestioned GOAT in the NFL. To me, I was watching him live do it, though. I grew up watching him do this. He's been that dude my entire life. So there's that like feeling of like there's something, it's attached to a moment in time for all of us. That's what I always say. When you talk about favorite player, when you talk about who the GOAT is, it's about what was happening, when that was happening, why was this a great time in your life? And watching highlights, you can't replicate that feeling. Watching highlights, you can't replicate that feeling of being in that moment and realizing this is an amazing player. He might be the best to ever do it. So I'm not going to say yay or nay, but I'll say this. Aaron Donald absolutely has a case. He's got 3 Defensive Player of the Years. That's tied with LT and JJ Watt. He's got 7 consecutive. You know what that means? One right after the mother. He ain't missed a day. If you get that reference, shout out to you. 7 consecutive first team all pro selections. That's the most since like Muggs back in the 60s. Since he's been drafted, he's got 98 sacks. That's 8 more than the next closest. 150 tackles for loss. That's first in the NFL. It's also 36 more than the next guy. First in QB hits, 226. That's also 42 more than the next guy. And that's also first in the NFL. I don't know if I said that or not. He's got a case. And I think that you lose him a little bit, right? Because there's times where, versus the Bears, we always say Aaron Donald's going to wreak havoc, and he never really does. And I feel like it's because of what we saw in that Super Bowl where, hey, we're going to double and triple team you every play. We're going to make Leonard Floyd play well. We're going to make Von Miller play well, which isn't hard to do with Von. But we're going to make you guys play well. But we're going to focus on Aaron Donald. So you don't see him as much on the stat sheet, on the flashes, and I feel like that's the part where a lot of people are kind of like, nah, he's not really that. He's up there. But is he up there that high? But we're talking about literally 3 grown men. And the other thing I'll say too, one, LT's a linebacker. Dion a DB. Dion, you negate Dion by not throwing to Dion. But all those numbers, where he's first in, where he's the best in the league in it, all of those metrics. He did that while playing in the middle of the line for most of it. And I think you saw this year a little bit more. They kind of moved him on the edge. They moved him around a little bit more, trying to get him some more looks, some different looks. But for most of his career, he's been in that middle, that nose tackle position. And he's wreaked this kind of havoc. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he isn't, because there's a lot of dudes I feel like is disrespectful to a lot of dudes that I just didn't watch as closely, or I just didn't grow up to see. But he's got a case. He's got a case. He's got, I mean, you look at his numbers, you look at what he's done on the field, you look at now adding a Super Bowl ring to that, which is why this conversation even comes up. Because with a ring, you're having the same conversation about JJ. That ring, that one piece of jewelry, makes all the difference. And the fact that the biggest player of the game, he's the one that makes it. There's also some recency bias with that. But on the biggest stage, in the biggest moments, Aaron Donald gets the job done. And so you have to look at him and say, hey, listen, attach that with your numbers. Attach that with how many people fear you in the NFL. Is he the greatest defensive player of all time? I don't know. But he's got a case. He's got a heck of a case. I'll say this. And this is coming from a Bears fan. This is coming from a Bears defense. This is coming from watching what Khalil Mack did here his first year, watching what Brian Urlacher has done here, watching what Lance Briggs did in this city, watching how great Peanut Tillman was. He is the greatest defensive player that I've ever seen. He is the greatest defensive player that I've ever seen. I got him above Ray Lewis. He's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. I've got him above those big name defenders. Darrelle Revis above him. Because his impact's so much more. You got to think, his impact changes everything. Him getting pressure on the quarterbacks makes it okay that, if we're being honest, their cornerback, their DB room is really Jalen Ramsey and the other guys. Pressure. Number one in quarterback hits. Number one in tackles for loss. He's in the middle. He's number one in tackles for loss. He has his job. He does his job well. And to me, he's the greatest defensive player I've ever seen, and that includes all the ones that came through here. Because his impact is felt. And without him, you know what I'm saying? Without him, that Rams defense isn't as good. You take him off of that team, Leonard Floyd's what he is here. You take him off of that team, Von Miller's life isn't as easy. Cornelia says, I don't know. We always forget about the one and only Reggie White, and I saw him basically took over a Super Bowl as well. Reggie White's definitely up there. Reggie White's one that I could say is I saw him play, but is probably the best name to compare in this situation. Because, right, when you're talking about like the greatest defensive player of all time, it's about how much, like it's basically if I remove this player from the field, who all gets worse? Right? But again, Reggie's on the edge. Again, Reggie's on the edge. Reggie's edge rushing. That's the part a lot of people don't take into account. Even LT, love LT, absolutely is up there. Absolutely, probably the greatest defensive player of all time. A lot of rushers on the edge. And in a stand-up position because he was playing that linebacker position. So he's standing up. Aaron Donald is in, what is he? They are they a 3-4? Would he be a 5 technique in that? In a 5 technique position? He's getting triple teamed in the middle. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm saying he's got a case. Plays 3. Okay. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just saying he's got a case. A lot of those guys that we mentioned, bringing up, they're not in the middle. A lot of those names that we bring up when we mention these guys, they're linebackers. They're on the edge. They're not in the middle doing this. That makes a difference. That absolutely plays into it. It's interesting to see. It's interesting to look at. I'll say this, right? Aaron Donald, to me, at a minimum, is a top 5 defensive player all time. I think he's closer to 1 than 5. And LT's the one player that stays in his way if you're talking about anyone else. And that's really it. I think Aaron Donald's a better player than Reggie White. I think that Aaron Donald's a better player than let me not speak on who I didn't watch. But I'll say this. There's some players that you didn't have to watch that you just know, right? LT's that kind of player, right? Like even if you didn't watch Jordan, when you watch documentaries on Jordan, when you watch highlights on Jordan, you're just like, oh, okay, that's why they said this dude's the GOAT. Oh, okay, that's why they said this dude's the greatest of all time. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you didn't watch it, like Lawrence Taylor's that level of player. But I think he's the only one that you could really put in the argument. And even him, he's a linebacker. I don't remember who put it up there. I saw somebody bring up the tackles that he had. Says Aaron Donald only has 441 tackles. Lawrence Taylor has 1,088. Lawrence Taylor was in a position to tackle people more often. Lawrence Taylor was all over the field. Lawrence Taylor was a monster. But I have to take into account that Aaron Donald's in the middle of the field, in the middle of the defensive line, and he's wreaking that level of havoc that this is even a conversation. You know what I'm saying? That this is even a conversation. That we're still talking about him being number 1 in sacks. That this is even a conversation. This is wild for him to be doing from the middle of the defensive line. The best names you're going to bring up were on the end. The best names you're going to bring up are on the edge. And that plays a factor into this. And you could see it on the field. We saw it during the Super Bowl. Triple teaming him. Triple teaming him. KW says, coming from a guy who coached college ball, Aaron Donald is by far, I'm assuming he meant to say, the most disruptive player in NFL history. The closer you play to the ball, the more headaches for your offense. Yeah. I look at, like, there's people that won't take that into account, that will look at it and say, well, he didn't have the same numbers as this guy, or he didn't have the same numbers as this guy. He's not gonna. He's in a completely different spot. But the fact that we're talking about him on Lawrence Taylor level impact on the field is ridiculous. And maybe that is something that puts him in greatest defensive player of all time. Maybe that is the thing that does it. But just thinking in terms of if I take him off of this team and put in not a bad player, but a regular nose tackle, Akeem Hicks even. Is Leonard Floyd the same dude? Is he 9.5 sacks? Does Von Miller fit in seamlessly? Are you able to hide most of your DB room? I just feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of people that will just look at the numbers versus the impact on the field. There's a lot of people that'll look at the numbers versus the impact on the field. And I think that his impact on the field is one of the most disruptive we've ever seen in NFL history. Zachary says the sack count wasn't even around when Lawrence Taylor was playing. I would beg to differ, my friend. Sack count was absolutely around. And even if it was, when he said they didn't start doing that until 1982, okay. Lawrence Taylor's rookie year was 81. Cornelius, what if Khalil Mack wins a Super Bowl with the Bears or win a Super Bowl period? Where do we put him as an all-time great? Listen, Khalil Mack's an all-time great defensive end. His numbers speak for themselves. He'll already go down as one of the greatest defensive ends in NFL history. Not to be like he's top, but he'll go down as one of the greatest. But it depends on how impactful he is. See, well, yeah, I don't know why he brought up sack count either. They definitely counted sacks. It depends on how impactful he is. Because let's be real. Every time we bring up Peyton Manning's second Super Bowl, what do we say? But he was kind of carried by that defense. So is it an impactful Mac or is it a injury prone trying to help his team out Mac? That's the question. I appreciate y'all for pulling up, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. I thought that was a good conversation for a Chicago channel, man. We know defense. And when I look at Aaron Donald, he reminds me of like, dog, come on. What are we looking at? That is ridiculous. I've never seen someone do that in the middle. The guys you all think of, right? None of them are nose tackles. None of them are in the middle. Whether we want to bring up LT, whether we want to bring up no matter what it is, none of them were counted. Or none of them were. I'm reading comments in the chat. None of them were in the middle. None of them were in the position he's in. That's why you have to take that into account. Ricky Fontaine in the building was good. Warren Sapp's a good name. Warren Sapp is a good name. I definitely got Aaron Donald over Warren Sapp to me. To me personally, I would put Aaron Donald over Warren Sapp. I think he's that good of a player. Mean Joe's in there as well. Hey, listen, I'll say this. Football is the one sport, right, where you kind of can do this no matter what when you're talking about the line position, because at a minimum, there's always been a bunch of fat dudes running into each other. So, like, bring it up. Cornelius brought up Mean Joe Green. That's still a good argument. Still a good argument. Because guess what they were doing back then? Bunch of fat dudes trying to get through each other. So Mean Joe Green's a good argument as well. There's some names in there that you absolutely could put in. But I feel like a lot of them aren't in that middle. Like, there's very few of them that we talk about that are in the same position that Aaron Donald's in. So to me, I would put him up there. I don't know if I'd put him one. Steve-O says he's undersized for position as well. The man is 5'11", 290, dominating 6'4", 340-pound grown man. He's 5'11". There's no way he's 5'11". He's that short. Fam, he's 6'1". I'm like, what are you talking about, dog? Can't forget Vince. Aaron Donald's over Vince for me. But Will Fork's a good one. He came to my high school one time. I don't know why. He just came through. I guess he was on like a high school tour or something like that. He just came to my high school. It was just like, who's that? It's Vince Wilfork. He's got a lot of championships. That's all you need to know. All right, cool. Nah, man. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. Appreciate y'all for chopping it up with your boy for another morning, man. Hope I'm keeping your morning entertaining. I know it's a little bit different when your boy's going dolo, but had to get back in the building, man. Excuse me for the voice as well. If y'all just pulling up, like, what the heck's going on with Pat's voice, man? What's wrong with him? Why is he whispering like that? I don't know. Lost my voice over the weekend. Don't know how. Literally lost my voice overnight. Got home from the Super Bowl party, was talking fine. Laid down, started watching TV, went to say something. What the heck? Bruce yelling at the football game. You know what? Probably my voice just like, you needed to relax. Because we were yelling at the TV. I was hyped. I was rooting. See, this is the weird part, right? I was rooting for the Bengals to win, but I had picked the Rams to win. I was rooting for the Bengals to win, but I knew, like, I picked the Rams to win by a lot, actually. But I was hoping I was wrong, man. So every play the Bengals made when they got the pick, when they was making, man, we were, let's go. Like it's our team. I can't imagine what I do for the Bears. I'm not going to lie to you, dog. Like if I was, oof, if we ever made a hopefully we do. But whenever we make a Super Bowl again, I can't imagine. I'm not going to be able to have a voice the next day, man. I'm going to have to be drinking tea the entire time and not alcohol. Because, I mean, I'm going to be losing my mind. I'm going to be losing my mind. That's going to be a wild day. I'll probably hop on live too, just like, are you kidding me? Oh God, I can't believe it. What? Are you a crier if the Super Bowl happens? Like when for Cubs fans, when the Cubs won their championship, were you crying? Not a crier. Bears win, I might cry. Bears win, I might cry. Black Rain. Last time I yelled during the Super Bowl was the Hester return in 07. Nah, man, I attach myself to a team every year. Or Sox fans, yeah, 06. Were you, or 05, were you a crier? I've never been a crier, man. Bears win, might cry. Bulls win, I'm just hyped. Bulls win is I'm like that, dog. I'm like that. Let's go. Bulls win, I'm just hyped. But I feel like there's been more sustained success with the Bulls. Like even the Bears. Like going back to like everybody always, like my dad always talks about like the Bears in the 60s. Because that was the team he was when he was a kid and growing up, that was the team he had. Bears in the 60s. Well, that was the team he had to look back on. My dad was born in 68. So that was the team he had to look back on, right? They didn't win another playoff game till 85, 84. Mike Davison. Yeah, I'm with you, dog. I'm definitely a shouter. I'm not a crier, really. Bears win, might cry. Black Rain said when the Cubs won, I couldn't fall asleep that night. I had to get up at 5 a.m. I was like a kid on Christmas Eve. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you this right now. If there's any championship that's won, don't expect me to be doing anything the following week. Like I'll get on here, I'll do a quick live and stuff like that, but don't expect me to be doing anything but celebrating the championship the entire week. Fam, we ain't got one in so long, dog. Don't expect me to be doing anything. Parties all week, hitting them. Let's go. Where we at? Right there. Where the players at? I'm out there too. Mike Davidson, I would absolutely flip a table in celebration. I mean, I'd be losing it, dog. Championship? Like I played in the game. What championship would mean the most to me? Bulls, Bears, or Sox? Probably Bears because I feel like I feel like that's the one that's eluded us the most, and so there would be a feeling of vindication for staying a Bears fan, right? Like being a Bears fan is so hard. You go through so much. It's really about what you go through with it, right? For the Sox, they won right around the same time I really started paying attention to sports. You know what I'm saying? I was about 10, 11, 12 maybe. So right around the time I started like focusing in on like, hey, this is my team. I know these players. I know what their stats are. I know what they're doing game in and game out. Right around that time is when I started paying attention to the White Sox. And so they won. But I didn't have this like long-standing drought like my dad did. Yeah, I'm saying when the Sox were like in the 90s and the lockout came and it was Frank Thomas and it was like I was a baby. So to me, it's like I've seen the Sox win in my lifetime early. Most of my life, the Bulls have not been relevant. Few years with Derek, couple years with Jimmy. Never really felt like you could win a championship with Jimmy's teams, though. And this is probably the first team since that Derek team I felt like could win a championship. Bears, I feel like there's multiple generations that feel the same way. Right? Like if you're a Bulls fan that grew up that was born in the 80s, yeah, the Bulls have been bad since the 90s, but you had the 90s. You have those memories to look back on. You had the 90s. I haven't really had those Bulls memberships, but you had the 90s. For Bears fans, like Bears fans kind of all are the same. Right? Bears fans are kind of all the same. Like minus the because there wasn't enough of a sustained success. Like even when the Bears won the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Even when the Bears won the Super Bowl, they were good till what? 90? Talk about 84 to 90? Really 84 to 89, 6 years? 5 years? Haven't really been legit Super Bowl contenders other than one other time, and it was all defense. So I feel like all Bears fans kind of feel the same. I feel like all Bears fans feel the same about who about how our team has done. And so we all could come together on that. We all could come together on, hey, we finally got one. We find this one means a lot. This one means everything. Shutting up the haters. You're assuming Justin Fields is good. We finally got a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? It solves a lot of your issues. Hey Justin, let's see if we can get a Joe Burrow run in us this season, man. Let's see if we can get that going. I could go for a Super Bowl championship. But yeah, if I had to put it in order, I would probably say I would probably go Bulls. No, I'd probably go Bears first. That would mean the most. Bulls second. And the White Sox third, just because they've won in my lifetime. Like, it's been a while, but just because they've won in my lifetime, it doesn't affect me as much. But I hope we win it this year, dog. Let's get it. Let's get it. I'm not gonna lie to you, dog. Yesterday was the first day ever because it's normally like Super Bowl baseball. Yesterday was the first day ever. And maybe it's because it was a Super Bowl that had just ended where I was like, I'm kind of ready for, or not the first day ever, I should say. The first day in a while where I was like, I'm kind of ready for baseball to start now. Now I'm kind of ready to start getting to baseball. Yesterday was my day for that. I was sitting there watching like Ken Griffey Jr. highlights, sitting there breaking down. I was like, kind of ready for baseball. Haven't heard anything about it. Probably not starting until June. Which also not a bad thing. Like, let's just listen, if every year is going to be a lockout year or something goes wrong and we're not starting until June, let's kind of keep it that way. So long as we start in June. But I think a nice June start for the season always gets you feeling good. Too many games. Way too many games. Let's keep it pushing, man. Let's keep it pushing. No NCAA men's baskets in the future. Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. First things first, I'm an Illinois fan. So I'm always watching, and we will be breaking it down. Actually, we're supposed to have a guest from I think the Contender side of things is working on getting us a guest on for March Madness coming up. But just from me looking at it, I'm excited to see how much fight my Illinois team has in it. I see them keep moving up. I'm excited to see how Kofi's going to be able to, if Kofi's going to be able to take over as the leader of this team to the point where he actually can take them far in this tournament. Cornelius is rocking with the Jayhawks. I'm going to be real with you. And I'm not going to get on here and act like I know. Listen, I know Illinois. That's it. It's the same reason I don't talk hockey. I know the Blackhawks. That's it. Like, I've never been a college fan because to me, you get a lot of guys who like you get a lot of guys who are going up against dudes. Like literally like dudes at export. Even on these great teams, even on these best teams, some of these dudes are just tall. And so I'd watch it and I'd be like, I mean, yeah, cool, nice. But I just watched I basically just watched a really exciting export game. That's how college felt to me. Plus, I never went to college, so I was never attached to a team. I just went with the state school, which is why I'm not a college football fan. But hey, that was my goal for this year. It didn't work out. I wanted to find a team that I was going to root for, and I was going to stick with them. But I couldn't, like, trying to force myself to be a fan of something was so hard. And so maybe the problem is I got to start now. Maybe that's the issue. I got to start now. Like during the off season, that's how I ingratiate myself into it. RJ Shai, D1 player is not a dog. I know. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying when I watch it, it doesn't feel it. There's enough guys on the court or on the field that are not gonna make it to that next level that it feels like, okay, I'm watching a scrimmage between some pickup guys. And when you get that great matchup, it's a great game. That's why March Madness is ridiculous, because you're getting the best of the best in that game. You're getting the best player from this part of the country and the best players from this part of the country in that game. It feels like an all-star game. That's why I love March Madness. Like at the same time, like as much as the college football or college basketball season to me is kind of like, yeah, like even when North Chicago, I went to my high school. Even when Illinois played Northwestern, I watched that game, and I got to the second the second half there, and I was like, yeah, this is basketball. We should win this game. Then Northwestern made it a game. It was a little bit closer, but the whole time I was just like, Illinois is selling. Like I didn't think that the talent level was even. So that's always been like, I always looked at college basketball like there's no way here that the talent level is even. I looked at college basketball like when you're looking at like when you're watching the Bulls play the worst team in the NBA. Like you'll watch it because it's your team. But if most of the season was filled with this, I wouldn't be worried about it. And so I don't know. It's always been me. I've just never been a college basketball fan. I'd rather watch these guys in the pros. I'd rather watch them to see how they match up in the pros. And you know what? I'll say this, though. The reason is probably because I can't attach myself to anybody the way we do college. I'm real big on like finding that guy. Finding that dude you can attach yourself to. For me, with Illinois last year, that was Io. Last couple years, that was Io. Illinois doesn't have the kind of program where you're going to get the guys that are one and done. So I can root for them a little bit more because they're there. I can attach myself to them. I feel like not having that makes it a lot harder for me to watch college basketball. Not having that attachment to these guys, like even these great players that stayed 2-3 years, which I absolutely think is better for their game improvement. But just being able to attach yourself to watching them grow, watching their game grow, and then finally seeing them go to the NBA, like that's pretty cool. But you don't get that opportunity with most of the mugs. Most of these guys, they come on the scene for a year. It's like, oh my God, look at him. And now he's on the Memphis Grizzlies. What happened? Although Ja played a couple years, but still, you know what I mean. Since we talking basketball, coming down the home stretch here. Appreciate y'all for pulling up and showing love to the show, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Your boy's got no voice, and that's okay. When we're talking about NBA MVP, Demar Derozan has been making his case over the last 6 games heading into the All-Star break for why he should be in the conversation. He's been in the conversation all year, but why he should be higher in the conversation maybe. But do these other guys have something to say? Is DeMar saying enough? To me, I don't care if he won the 3-point three-point record. At this point, Steph's not in the conversation for me anymore. Having the worst shooting go of his career. I believe he's down to 36%, 35%, something like that. Brian is kind of always weirdly in the conversation because he's just 36 and just keeps playing like he's 22. But to me, you're talking about 4 candidates. Talking about Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, DeMar. Those are your 4 to me. Does DeMar have a case above those other guys? Does DeMar have a case to be over Embiid? And it's hard to say, right? Because every time we play Philly, we lose. Every time we go up against Philly, we lose. But when you're looking at what DeMar Derozan does for the Chicago Bulls, what DeMar Derozan did in those games that we lost, what DeMar Derozan does for this team as a whole, right now, he's the piece that's keeping the team afloat. Zach LaVine hasn't been right in 3 weeks. Probably longer than that, but I'm going to say 3 weeks because that's when the back started flaring up. Or that's when the knee started flaring up. Zach LaVine hasn't been right in 3 weeks. DeMar Derozan and Nikola Vucevic have absolutely been carrying this team. This team is still top 3, and they've been unhealthy, and DeMar Derozan is a huge part of that. But is he above Embiid? Is he above Giannis? And the toughest part of that, and like the video if you agree, the toughest part of putting him above the 2 guys that are in the Eastern Conference with him is we haven't beaten those guys yet. Right now, Bulls second in the East, game behind Miami. They're above Philly. Philly's 5th. They're above Milwaukee. Milwaukee's 4th. And there's still a long way to go. But at the halfway point, where would we put them? And I know it's blasphemous to ever put this guy's game or name in the same conversation as anyone else ever. But you have to. This is a Kobe-like run. Going back. And everybody's just talking about like the last few games in a row. No, watch what he's been doing this season. 43-7, 38-6-5, 35-6-6, 36-5-4, 38-5-4, 45-9-7, 31-5-7. That's the run everybody's focusing in on, right? But you got to keep going. 28-6-7, 29-10-5, 23-4-10, 35-6-8, 29-7-7, 41-5-3, 35-6-3, 32-7. Demar Derozan is absolutely putting up MVP numbers. Demar Derozan is absolutely, to me, making his case to be leading the MVP, and we're not paying close enough attention to it. And I've been the guy that's rallying for Embiid. I've been the guy that said, listen, Joel Embiid is that dude. I can't take it away from him. He should get the MVP. I've been that guy. And I feel like this was the week where DeMar was like, no, y'all not noticing. Let me put y'all on notice. And I love that. I feel like this is the week where DeMar, or these are the last few games where DeMar was like, I'm doing a lot. I'm putting up MVP numbers. I'm playing an MVP kind of game. But y'all not watching. Y'all aren't paying attention. So let me go off. Oh, by the way, let me put the team on my back. And it's hard to like balance that, right? Because there's times where we say that ISO ball is killing us, but that ISO ball has absolutely put us in a position to win a lot of these games. Now you mix that in with what Vooch is doing, now you got yourself a show. But to me, there's an excellent case for DeMar DeRozan. There's an excellent case for DeMar to be the MVP. And I think that it's getting to the point now where you have to start acknowledging him as an MVP. If not, you're just not paying attention. I said the storyline means a lot. The storyline of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Now he has James Harden in the building. That honestly could hurt his storyline there while the Bulls are going on an entirely different trajectory. To where DeMar losing Zach because of a little bit of injury. The Bulls have been unhealthy all season, but they're still top 3. That's an excellent storyline. The MVP is based on storylines. Every MVP you go back and look at has a storyline attached to it. Why'd he win the MVP over this guy? Well, he was, and then the favorite, and then we love him, and the fans, and the people, and the team, and the game, but they lost. But I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? It's about that storyline as well. But because just numbers wise, he's on par. Right now at 27-5-5, shooting 51% from the field, 33% from the three-point line, 86% from the free throw line, averaging just under a steal a game, playing 35 minutes. If I'm looking at Philly and Joel Embiid, 29-4-11, 49% from the field, 36% from 3, stealing a block and a half a game. But he's the 6th seed. And you can say, yeah, well, he didn't have Ben and he didn't have this. And DeMar hasn't had a team for 2 months now. 3 months, honestly. We're halfway through February. The Bulls haven't been healthy for 3 months now. Top 3. Top 2, honestly. Game behind first. You look at Milwaukee. And to me, these are the two. I mean, honestly, if we're being honest with you, like Jokic is doing amazing things, keeping his team afloat. But I just don't think that it's paid attention to enough if they're not winning, right? Because it's Denver. And it's sad to say it like that, but because it's Denver. If they're not winning, it's not as looked upon. But look at Giannis. 29 a game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 11 rebounds, 54% from the field, 29% from 3, steal, block and a half a game. But they're 4th. Now, beating those teams absolutely matters. Beating those teams, I feel like if Giannis had beaten both of them, this wouldn't even be a conversation. Or not Giannis. If DeMar had beaten both of them, this wouldn't even be a conversation right now. But losing to those teams, that's the part that hurts you. Losing to those teams, that's the part that hurts you. That's the part that hurts his case. They're all within just about a point a game. Now, rebounding and assists, they've got them beat on that front. But as far as it goes with looking at what the teams have had to go through, the storyline is going to be attached to it. DeMar's got a case, a good case. And I think this week was literally just like, hey, we got to let these mugs know I need to be in this conversation as well. And you absolutely can win the MVP with less stats, right? You absolutely can win the MVP. Derrick Rose did that. Charles Barkley did that. It's about the storyline. Where does DeMar, not only his numbers rank, but where does what he's doing for the Bulls rank in that equation? That's kind of what you got to look at when it comes down to it. And I look at this and I say, hey, I can't deny what he's doing is absolutely putting us in a position to win games. I can't deny that what he's doing absolutely is helping the Bulls get to that next level. The one thing I'd like to see him do, move the ball a little bit more, show a little bit more vision. He did that in the last game. He started going into ISO Debo. But then when he needed to, what's he do? Oh, pump, get this out the Vooch. Shot, got it. Get down low. Here come the double. Kick it out to Kobe. Wide open. Splash. Got it. That's what that's what it's gonna come down to. How's he able to navigate that through the rest of the year? That's the part that's gonna be interesting to see. But as we're at the half, and there's another thing too, right? As we're at the half here, coming to the halfway point of the season, halfway point. Coming to the All-Star break, past the half a long time ago. But as we're coming to the All-Star break, how should MVP be evaluated? And why? Here's my biggest question. You've got the NBA Player of the Week, right? That means that for an entire week of games, a player played well. You've got the NBA Player of the Week. Why wouldn't MVP go to the player that wins the most players of the week? Like, I feel like it shouldn't be a reactionary contest, right? It shouldn't be a reactionary thing. Because you get to the end of the season, like last year. Who was it? LaMelo? LaMelo won Rookie of the Year last year, right? Yeah. But what LaMelo had been doing for most of the year, all of a sudden, last few weeks of the season, Anthony Edwards gets healthy. He comes on. He starts killing it as well. All of a sudden, it was Anthony Edwards is the Rookie of the Year. It's like, no, it's not how that works. Anthony Edwards is the rookie of the last couple months. But as far as Rookie of the Years go, LaMelo's been doing this all season. Like, how do you not? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. If this dude won the most weeks, if he was the player of the week the most times, wouldn't that mean that he was the most valuable player throughout the season? Like, to me, that's how you got to start evaluating this thing. That's how I'm going to start looking at it. Otherwise, you bring in too many other narratives. Well, he went through this, and then they was doing this, and he had kids, and he had to love them kids. Then he had to play while loving them kids, and then the kids was hungry, so he had to feed the kids. And then while he fed the kids, he loved the kids. He was playing basketball, and then while he was playing basketball, another team was playing basketball, and he had to feed their kids too. And then now you bringing too much stuff into it. I don't know where that came from, but you know what I'm saying. Are we basing this off of what we're seeing on the court or the narratives? And we know it's built off the narratives. We know it's built off the storylines. It's not built off just to play on the court. For this award to be legit, I feel like you need to be talking about how many players of the week did he win? Because here's the thing, right? I see Muggs win player of the week multiple weeks, but they don't get player of the month. How's that work? Like, what's the thought process here? You got all this stuff. You got all these accolades, all these awards that go into these guys' contracts that absolutely help them get more money if they meet these goals. And you don't use none of them. You don't use them to evaluate the player. Like, if we gonna do it, let's do it. Otherwise, you're just making it up. Otherwise, you're just giving it to the dude you like the most. And we've seen that too, right? And even with the player of the week. Half the time when you look at that award, they just be trying to give it to different people every week. And I'd be like, was he the best player that week or not? Oh, well, we want to get it to Pascal Siakam this week. For what? Did he outplay DeMar DeRozan? And if he did, shout out to you. Guess what you just did? Got yourself an MVP vote. I thought about that the other day, dog. I literally was like just walking around, doing stuff in the yard. Matty Matt in the chat was good, my boy. Thinking about why don't we just use the things that they already have in place to actually make the decision on who the MVP is? You know what's not going to happen? Favoritism. And you know why? You know why they'll never do it? Because they don't want to have the same MVP. They don't want to give the MVP to the most valuable player every year. Probably because there's some old stigmatism of like how what was it? Steph Curry was the first unanimous MVP. But everyone's in an uproar because Jordan never won unanimous MVP. LeBron never won unanimous MVP. Now we're all in an uproar. How could you give an MVP to this guy unanimously when you don't Jow? Stop being old dudes. Stop being old and stuck in your old ways. It sounds like nonsense after a while. I didn't have a stroke. I don't want y'all to be concerned. It sounds like nonsense after a while. Because you want to be tied to how something was done in the 60s and 70s. They didn't do this for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There's a lot of things they didn't do for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Why would we do it now? Because it's time to evolve. Bill Russell didn't get this opportunity. Bill Russell didn't even get half his blocks counted. Actually, he got none of his blocks counted. It wasn't a stat they recorded. I watched this man block 8 shots in 10 minutes. You want to tell me about a Rudy Gobert? It's okay to evolve with the time. It's okay to move forward. I promise it is. Games evolve, sports evolve, players evolve. Arguing with old heads about players being more athletic now than in the 90s is wild to me. Are you telling me he's more athletic than Michael Jordan? No, Michael Jordan was a freak of nature. No, I'm not. But what I am telling you is that when there a lot of those other players come in that aren't that freak of nature, guess what? They're better. There's role players now that would have been stars in the 90s. That's just a fact. But that's not a bad thing. That means your game evolved. Guess what? The sport of basketball moved in the right direction. You're telling me players are more talented now than they've ever been? Yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm telling you, players are more talented right now than they were in the early 2000s. Now, are your stars? There's debate there. I can say you put Kobe in this league, Kobe's going to dominate. I can say you put Jordan in this league, Jordan's going to dominate. But how we operate stuff, and because we don't want to be disrespectful to the players that came before us. Well, you know what's disrespectful? The fact that all these guys are going to break all those guys' records because you can't change your mindset on upgrading requirements for the Hall of Fame. It's a wild statement to make, but when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird are your benchmarks for guys that should get in, there's going to be a lot of guys in. I went through the list on here before. In this generation right now, we're at like 30 Hall of Famers between like 5 teams. Because you can't evolve your criteria. You can't step to the next level. You can't improve what you're doing because these guys were so great. We could never take, and they were. They were great. They were amazing players. They could play in today's era. They shouldn't be your benchmark. Bill Russell shouldn't be your benchmark for centers making it. Got to evolve the thinking on it. Upgrade that MVP voting. Find a new way to do that MVP. I'm telling you, player of the week. And have it legit. Look at the numbers. Look at the teams he beat. Do the numbers he got versus the power ranking that he played. Some dude from Purdue or Yale come up with that. That was a big difference in schools right there. Come up with that equation. Give me that equation. Spit that out to me. Only one. I agree and disagree due to rule changes in hand checks and zones, so role players can score a lot more because scoring is up and easier. Hand check plays a big role in scoring. I don't disagree with you, but what I'm saying is they're a better form of athlete today. So there's a lot of athletes today that could absolutely deal with hand checking. A lot of those bench guys are just stronger. Not to say they weren't back then, but they work out differently now. They do different things. They have different supplements. We've moved ahead as a society medically. Understanding the human body. We're 22 more years into that. 30 in some cases, 40 in some cases. You know what that gets you? That gets you 30-something Hall of Famers between 5 teams. That's what it gets you. It taints how, I don't want to say it taints it, but it makes it, as the players get better, the MVPs aren't going to keep going, or the Hall of Famer numbers aren't going to keep going down. Because players are getting better, because they're learning from better players. Things feel impossible until they're first done, and then they're usually done again at a higher, much more rapid rate. Now, there's some records that probably will never be broken. Wayne Gretzky's points record, I believe it still stands. Most points in a career probably will never be broken. There's some players that have those kind of records. Stockton's assist record might be broken one day. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Yeah. Yeah. Gretzky's points record will probably never be broken. 2,857 points. Next closest is Jaromir Jagr, 1921. Yeah. Nah. But if somebody looks at how Wayne Gretzky got those points, guess what? The next generation of player is better. Because you got a bunch of dudes watching Gretzky all trying to imitate his stick motion. You get Trae Young because of Steph Curry. You get Ja Morant because of Russ and Derek. It continues to move forward. That's what you want. It's okay. We hold on to the things of our childhood. No one can ever be better than this. You listen. I'm 2 years in. Now, if he doesn't get hurt, it's different. But based on what we saw, Ja Morant's going to be a better point guard than Derrick Rose was. Here's the difference. Ja Morant had Derrick Rose to watch to figure out how to get there. Ja Morant could see Derrick Rose's deficiencies and Russell Westbrook's deficiencies and say, here's where I need to improve my game, but I can do a lot of things just like those guys can. There's a blueprint in place. He's going to be better. It's okay. I would love for him to be better here. Players looked at Michael Jordan, and now you've got better role players because we always look at the greats that look at Jordan. LeBron looked at Jordan. Kobe looked at Jordan. All those big names. The role players were too. The bench pieces were also watching Jordan, trying to do what Jordan did. Back then, your stars were your ones that were your highlight plays, crazy dunks, Clyde the Glide, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley. Best dunks I've seen this season have come from Derrick Jones and Javonte Green. Everything elevates as time goes on. Crucial says, I think players are more talented now, but I think 90s were more fundamentally sound. I think 90s were more fundamentally sound. I think they started you through more of a fundamental regiment, but I think the fundamentals have changed. Right? Fundamentals means at a basis, you can make the league if you're really good at doing these things. That's not the case anymore. Back then, you just had to be a really good facilitator and ball handler, and you could have been a point guard in the NBA, and above average one. It's not the case anymore. You have to have so many different fundamental skill sets. Now, does it fall back to jump, pass, shoot? Yes. But there's so many different skill sets that go into what was going to be what could get you into the NBA back then that now, I mean, if you're not shooting a three-pointer, you better be 6'10" and Australian. If you're not an assassin from some point on the court, you know what I'm saying? Like, the fundamentals have changed. Because of how good they were fundamentally back then, they've added to the fundamentals now. A handle is a requirement. Starting point guard in the NBA without a handle? There were guys back then that just, hey, I'm just here to bring the ball up, start the ball movement. Play defense. Nobody talks about Ron Harper for great ball movement, great handles. We talk about Ron Harper for great defense. That wouldn't happen in today's NBA. We talk about Lonzo for playing great defense, but he's also a great ball handler. He's also a great three-point shooter. Wild to say, by the way. But it's okay to up your standards on what should be. And so, you know, this all started from the MVP talk with DeMar DeRozan, but it's okay to up how you vote for the MVP, to change that. I think a more logical way, because players are so much better. Go look at it back there. Go look at how easy it was to pick Michael Jordan every year. And there were still years he didn't get it. But look at how easy it was to pick Jordan every year. He would lead the league in scoring. He would lead the league in steals. He would lead the league in blocks. He would lead the league in, and he still wouldn't get picked sometimes. There were times in the season where you would look at it and you'd be like, there's not even a case for this to be anybody else. Same during Kobe's time. Same during Bron's time. Listen, as much as I love Derrick Rose, and I think that if you take him off of that Bulls team, they're nothing. And I think that elevates him in the reason he won that MVP, because everybody looked at it and was like, wow, he's really like leading the charge on everything this team does. Bron's numbers were better. Everybody just hated LeBron that year because he went to Miami. But I guess it's about what you want the MVP to be about. To me, it's about what you do on the court. It's about what you do on the field. Aaron Rodgers just won MVP. Aaron Rodgers didn't go down as greatest dude of the year this year. Still an MVP. Still got the job done. And that's to me, like, are we doing it logistically? And that plays a part. See, to me, like that comment there, shout out BJ for that one. That's a better argument for why Derrick should win the MVP than just, well, look at him if you take him off of that team. You say that about any star. They had the best record in the NBA. Guess what? You got the best record in the NBA. It's hard not to say you're not the MVP. You got the best record in the NBA. Why do you have the best record in the NBA? Because of that dude right there. That dude right there. That dude right there. MVP. But you know what also happens if you're being smart about it with the best record in the NBA? Derrick Rose probably should have been player of the week more times than not. Derrick Rose probably should have been player of the week more times than not. And if you're going into it with that mindset, with some sort of equation of players' numbers versus power ranking of the team, and you have to have a real power ranking, not an ESPN power ranking, where they're like, oh, well, let me tell you this right here. The Lakers are still a top 10 power ranked team because they won 3 games last year. Or last week, whatever it is. Talking about a legit power ranking where you rank these teams based on who they played, based on there's a lot of numbers that go into it. But are we doing this for real or not? And then the conversation is going to become, oh, was he snubbed for player of the week? But good topic. And if you put the math out there, how you do it equation wise, guess what? Who's going to argue with you? Who's going to argue with you? It's a logical way to pick the MVP, not an emotional way. It's 2022. It's okay to start doing things logically. I swear it is. It's a more logical way to pick the MVP and not a more emotional way. And I think that it makes the NBA better in that situation. Because guess what? Players are going to be trying to put on. Players are going to be trying to win that. And what it's going to become is you're going to have a player of the week that's going to stand out. The sad part to me is that this conversation seems so normal. Like it seems like such a simple concept to do. I'll never understand. Like it's got to be, they want it to be the popularity contest that it is. They want it to be the popularity contest. They want it to be the the MVP this year. Well, what'd he do? Well, he fed the kids. And he helped out in this, and he got his team here while dealing with this and had to feed the kids, and then moved here, and then did, and then added, and then they wanted to be that. Because this is too easy of a fix. But that's not how we did it when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was playing. Who cares? I'm tired of our sports being stuck in the same era every time. We can't do this because they didn't do this for Babe Ruth. We can't do this because we didn't do it for Kareem. We can't do this because we didn't do this for Roger Staubach. We can't do this because we didn't do it. Update the criteria. It's going to be interesting to see. But I think DeMar has a case. It all comes down to I think DeMar has a case not because he's got the best numbers, but because Demar still has the best storyline going while he's playing great. The Bulls are struggling. He's putting up great numbers. He's willing his teams to win without his second best player. And he was deemed the worst signing of the offseason. It's a great story. It's a great story to tell. When you got Charles Barkley and them boys interviewing him at the MVP award ceremony, it's gonna be a great time for DeMar to tell it. Numbers wise, is he there? Yes, he is. Playing very well. He should be there. He should be in the conversation. It's no disrespect to DeMar at all. It's no disrespect to his game at all. I just get sick of the popularity contest stuff. And I get sick of the being tied to how things were done in the 70s and 80s because that was your heyday. I've been looking on Twitter this whole time pretty much. Just waiting for an update on Zach LaVine. I haven't seen anything yet. But if you didn't hear, Zach heading back to the specialist that did his ACL surgery to get an opinion on why he's having the soreness in his knee. And this could tie in with the news that just dropped this morning that Goran Dragach has agreed to a buyout with the San Antonio Spurs and is now a free agent. We've heard it reported that the Bulls are high on Dragach, trying to get him into the building. Dragach is the guy that was the highest scoring point getter on that Miami team that went to the finals there. Also known as the man who Derrick Rose dunked on. It could say a lot when you're looking at where Zach is at, where Caruso could be at in 6 to 8 weeks. Because remember, Caruso's 6 to 8 weeks was just for evaluation. It was 6 to 8 weeks for evaluation. It wasn't 6 to 8 weeks for him to come back. Now you're hoping he does. You're hoping he can get back in there. But it was 6 to 8 weeks just for evaluation. So it's going to be interesting to see if they bring in Goran Dragic to try and get help at that guard play. I love that also the same people that are like, why would we ever want Goran Dragic also say, get Matt Thomas out of the building? I'm like, well, you going to replace Matt Thomas with somebody? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna put somebody in there for Matt Thomas? That's where a Goran Dragic could come in. And so, like, I just, it's going to be interesting to see what the buyout market's going to bring. I guess the question would be, who is the best player that the Bulls could go after in this buyout market? We've heard a few names that might be on the market. Right now, I heard Robin Lopez will be available. We've heard DeAndre Jordan will be available. We know that we need that big man help inside. We know that we need that big man off the bench. We know that we need rebounding help for Vooch. To me, can you find, first thing you need to find, right? And this is how it breaks down to me, a couple different ways. First thing you need to find out if you have a big man that's on the market that is able to start for you on this team, that is able to take the place of Javonte Green on this team in the starting lineup, because the biggest problem the Bulls have right now is the fact that there isn't enough size in their starting lineup that is able to help Vooch to close out these games. You know what I mean? Like, you can't come in, like, even if I get a DeAndre Jordan or I get a Robin Lopez, am I going to have those guys in the last 2 minutes of the game, 3 minutes of the game? You have to find out if that guy is out there. You have to find out if that guy is on the market. Like, I understand everybody's like, well, we need better defense. We need better interior. We need better points in the paint. Agreed. We need better rebounding. We need big guys that can rebound. We don't have enough of that. And so, to me, the first thing you need to see when looking at these candidates, if it is a Tristan Thompson, if it is, you know what I'm saying, some of those buyout candidates, some of those guys that have been reported to be bought out. Is it a Schroeder? But to me, the thing you need to look for first and foremost is, can I find a guy that I can slide into the lineup that can start right away? Can I find a guy that I can throw in there next to Vooch that can start right away? Heck, I'm trying to see. Hey, I haven't heard no reports about it, but dog, what's good with Dwight Howard? Because he's getting no love out there. Let's put a couple former Orlando guys together. He's getting no love out there. Getting no tick. I doubt Paul Millsap gets bought out, but even then, Paul Millsap 37. You just got to you have to find a guy. You have to find that guy that you can throw in there that can be a starter. I'm fine with finding a bench piece as well. Hey, buy out McKinney, buy out whoever you got to do. I'm fine with finding a bench piece as well. But I think the first thing you need to be looking at is that starter spot. Because no matter what you say, no matter how much you want to kill Vooch for the points in the paint, no matter how much we want to kill Vooch for everything being inside, absolutely, you have to look at the fact that when Vooch switches, there is somebody 6'4", 6'5", rotating over on dudes that are 6'9", 6'10". That's what it comes down to. Why are they struggling? Why aren't the Bulls able to hold on? Why can't the Bulls stop this? Why can't the Bulls? Because there's a 6'4" dude trying to stop a 6'10" dude coming through the paint at full speed, getting a backdoor pass. Why isn't Vooch down there? Because he's rotating on defense like he's supposed to be. So at the end of the day, you got to find a way to make that work. And I mean, heck, even if I'll say this, right? And here's the crazy part. Here's the crazy part, right? Even if you found your backup big to the point that you could put Tony Bradley in at the 5 and Vooch at the 4, so that you have two big dudes on the court. Because he's the younger of the options there. He doesn't need to play long, just long enough to be in there. Just long enough to be able to help you on the rebounding tip. Even if you found somebody that you could do that, that makes your team better. You've got two dudes in there now that can rebound. Because right now, all of your rebounds are coming from the bench. At that big man spot, I should say. You got Vooch and you got the bench. You don't have two dudes in the starting lineup right now that are going to be able to do that. Even if you got your team to that point, I still got 4 scorers on the floor. Tony Bradley's kind of an offensive liability, but I'll find a way to get him kind of like to be there, just set screens, stay out of the way, run down when I need you to grab the ball. To me, that's best case scenario for the Bulls, man. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, man. Shout out to my brothers for holding down the live call last night, man. They did an excellent job. Shout out to Ringo. Shout out to P Kid, man. And then shout out to everybody that tuned in this morning, man. We'll be back tomorrow bright and early, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. If this is your first time here, check it out. Again tomorrow. If this is not your first time here, see you tomorrow as always. Share this thing up, man. Share this on YouTube or share this on Twitter, on Instagram, all that stuff, man. Drop some clips if y'all want to, man, stuff like that, man. I appreciate everybody who shows support for the show. We're trying to get this thing over 25K before the end of the year, man. So let's keep it growing, man. As always, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Hey, yo, Chicago. Y'all stay safe out there, man.